Good evening, everyone. I shifted to Hyderabad about a year ago. My parents very casually announced in the middle of a completely unrelated conversation that we were moving. I took it lightly. There was no way I was packing up my entire life and moving to a completely new city in the middle of 10th grade, right? 2 months later, here I was. At first, I was genuinely excited. New city, new friends, new house, new everything. But at the same time, I don't think I can recall a time in my life where I felt more alone. I was constantly fixated on my old life, comparing everything that happened here to how it would have looked like back at home. I was stuck in the past, doom scrolling, constantly on my phone, and utterly and completely detached from the present. The funny part? I complained about having no connections in this new city. But maybe the truth was I wasn't putting any efforts to make them. Instead of finding connections with people physically present around me, I found comfort in my phone. The irony? I had never had more people to talk to. Old friends, new friends, family, classmates, more connections than I'd ever had. And yet, it was a classic example of how you can talk to 10 people at once and still feel lonely. Because maybe it's not the connections that are making us feel alone. It's because we can't connect with ourselves. Sherry Turkle introduced a concept called I share, therefore I am. Let me give you an example. Before it was, I went on a vacation, so I posted about it. Now, it's I posted about it, so it feels like I actually went on a vacation. Because if it's not on Instagram, did it even happen? Somewhere along the way, something flipped. The purpose switched. Social media wasn't always like this. It began as a way to document our lives, to preserve the memory, to capture the moment, to stay in touch. But now we live in ways that can be documented. We pose, we filter, we edit. We think, how will this look in my story before we ask, how does this feel in real life? We're so stuck. We've created our lives into highlights for other people to watch, and maybe in that process, we've forgotten how to live them ourselves. When we don't have connection, we don't feel like ourselves. We almost don't feel ourselves. So what do? We connect more and more. And what do you turn to for this more and more? Straight into the open arms of our apps. Instagram, Snapchat, WhatsApp, BeReal, each one promises we'll keep you connected. But is it really connection? And therein lies the paradox of plenty. We have so many ways to speak, and yet so few real, honest conversations. We've never had more connection, and yet we feel such little connection. Here is where the echo chamber of validation begins. Isn't it strange? Do you find yourself scrolling through Instagram and thinking, why is her life better than mine? We still constantly compare ourselves to other people, even though we know they are pretending to be perfect online. No one's being real. We think about this constantly, and it takes over our lives. Maybe the first step is to recognize what we're actually craving here. Because half the time, we're not posting for fun. We're posting for validation. Each like, each comment, each reaction to your story, it feels good, right? It's that tiny burst of dopamine every time you get a notification. It's like your phones are telling you, hey, people like you. They really, really like you, except, do they? Or is it just a constant exchange of pretty pictures? Let's talk about something I like to call the ghost town effect. Have you ever opened a group chat and there are hundreds of messages and yet somehow absolutely nothing has been said? That's the ghost town effect. Online spaces feel crowded. There are notifications, DMs, likes, stories, but emotionally, they're empty. We keep switching between apps in order to feel some kind of connection, but all we're actually getting is noise. We start confusing activity with intimacy, and that's the problem. So how do we fix this? Through the power of being busy and building communities. They say an idle mind is the devil's workshop. And in 2025, the devil looks something like doom scrolling, or promising yourself you'll start studying at 4 o'clock. And then it's 4:02. So obviously, you have to wait till 4:30 before you start studying. Sound familiar? I know that's something I do. In this way, we spend our entire day scheduling our productivity instead of actually doing anything. Raise your hand if you spend the first 15 minutes of your day on social media or grabbed your phone the minute you got out of bed. I know I did. I know more hands will go up, up, up. We know this. We tell ourselves it is to catch up or stay updated. But before we know it, our mornings are already hijacked by our phones. The antidote? Just the right amount of purposeful busyness. Not the overscheduled, stressed out kind that makes you worry, what am I doing? But the kind that fills your time with genuine presence. Volunteering, sports, arts, clubs, anything really that makes you show up. For me, that space has always been filled with sports, specifically gymnastics, something I've been actively pursuing for the past 7 years. When I first moved to Hyderabad, it was through gymnastics that I first found the people I genuinely connected with. I spent hours in the gymnasium where I was forced to disconnect from my online life. There were no phones, no notifications, just real interactions. Chatting with teammates between friends, between turns, constantly motivating each other, celebrating little wins together. And it's not just sports. It could be anything really that makes you want to keep away your phone. Think about that one activity, let's all do it together, that one activity that allows you to connect with yourself and with people who share that same interest. Because when our time is filled with presence, the devil's workshop has no space left to rent. So let's redefine connection together. We think that always being connected is going to make us feel less alone, but in reality, it's the opposite that's true. If we can't be alone with ourselves, we'll only end up lonelier. Because the truth is, the conversations that we have with ourselves shape the conversations that we have with other people. If we don't stop to think about our own thoughts, we're just going to end up repeating what everybody else is saying. If we don't stop chasing the next notification, we're going to forget what it feels like to be present in the moment. So here's my challenge for all of us here present today. Let's start treating our time like it's our currency. Let's spend it on things we genuinely enjoy. Let's not spend it on things we won't even remember next week, like why somebody left us on scene. Let's spend it on people who make your stomachs hurt because you laugh so much, on experiences that become your favorite memories, and on activities that make hours feel like minutes. But most importantly, let's spend it with ourselves. I'm not saying we should give up our devices. I know I can't live without my phone for even a day. I'm just saying Let's build a more self-aware relationship with them, with others, and with ourselves. Because maybe, just maybe, the cure for loneliness isn't in finding more apps. It's in finding more moments worth showing up for. Thank you.